Picture this: a 19-year-old in a sparkling gown steps to the VMAA podium in 2009, clutching her first Moon Man for Best Female Video, only for Kanye West to storm the stage and declare the award belongs to someone else. In that split-second interruption, the world didn't just witness a feud, it glimpsed the spark that would fuel one of the most calculated, resilient careers in modern entertainment. Fast forward 16 years, and the same artist closes a 149-show global tour that grossed more than $2 billion, repurchases the masters to her life's work for $360 million, and watches her latest album sell 4 million copies in a single week, while the Recording Academy hands her 0 nominations. Taylor Swift has never been content to ride waves. She engineers them. A Pennsylvania farm girl who taught herself guitar at 12 turned diary confessions into diamond-certified anthems, then leveraged every public betrayal label takeovers, edited phone calls, viral deepfakes into strategic reinventions that rewrote streaming economics and ticket sale laws alike. Her engagement to Travis Kelce didn't merely trend, it lifted NFL ratings by $331 million and turned Sunday games into crossover events. Tonight, we travel backward from 2025's summit of soft rock maturity and hard-won ownership to the Christmas tree farm where the first chords were strummed. Along the way, we'll dissect the Ticketmaster meltdown that landed in congressional hearings, the re-recording campaign that devalued a $300 million catalog, and the quiet moments of doubt that produced 4 unprecedented Album of the Year Grammys. What separates Swift from every other prodigy is not flawless luck, but unflinching authorship of her music, her narrative, and the industry's forced to adapt. By the final frame, you'll understand not only how she built an empire, but why the next move, whatever it is, will likely reshape the rules again. 2025 stands as the year Taylor Swift no longer climbs the mountain. She owns it. At 35, she has traded the breathless tabloid cycle of who she's dating for a quieter, more commanding authority, the kind that arrives when an artist finally dictates every term of her story. That authority crystallized on October 3rd with the release of The Life of a Showgirl, her 12th studio album and the fastest-selling record of the streaming era. 4 million equivalent album units moved in 7 days, eclipsing the mark Adele set in 2015 and pushing Swift past her own 2024 benchmark with the Tortured Poets Department. Vinyl accounted for 1.3 million of those sales. A reminder that in an age of algorithms, physical ownership still matters to her audience. The lead single, The Fate of Ophelia, debuted at number 1 in the United Kingdom and held the entire top 3 positions for 2 straight weeks, while vault tracks like Opalite and Elizabeth Taylor offered glimpses of a woman reflecting on glamour's cost rather than chasing its rush. Photographed by Mert Alas and Marcus Pigott, the album artwork presents Swift in sequined solitude, a deliberate departure from the pastel folklore of 2020 or the midnight synths of 2022. Critics praised the sonic maturity soft rock arrangements layered with strings and subtle horns, but some questioned whether the domestic contentment woven through the lyrics signaled a retreat from the sharp-edged feminism of earlier work. When the 2026 Grammy nominations arrived in November with 0 mentions for Showgirl, the silence felt pointed. Swift addressed it calmly in a BBC interview, calling speculation that the album might be her last before marriage not just inaccurate, but genuinely offensive. Within 48 hours, weekly sales jumped another 20%, a quiet flex that needs no further explanation. The personal life that once fueled endless headlines has settled into something steadier and arguably more powerful. On August 26th, Travis Kelce proposed in a private garden outside Kansas City, slipping a 12-carat old mine-cut diamond onto her finger under a canopy of string lights. The ring, custom designed by Artifacts, sparked 18 million Instagram likes in under 6 hours and turned the couple into a walking marketing phenomenon. Krispy Kreme released a limited trailer donut. Olipop rolled out a lavender honey soda. Even the Kansas City Zoo named a baby giraffe Swiftie. None of it feels accidental. Their partnership has already added $331 million in television revenue to the NFL, transforming Sunday afternoons into appointment viewing for demographics that rarely overlapped before. Kelce's podcast, New Heights, now regularly outranks sports talk giants, and Swift's appearances at Arrowhead Stadium have become cultural events in their own right. Yet the relationship's real impact shows in subtler ways, Kelce describing her as the best English teacher I never had. Swift laughing off the gym coach meets pop star trope in interviews. The romance humanizes a billionaire without diminishing her, grounding the mythology in something approachable. The Eras Tour, the engine that carried her to this summit, officially closed its curtain in Vancouver on December 8, 2024. What began as a victory lap for a catalog spanning 19 years became the highest-grossing tour in history, clearing $2.2 billion across 149 dates and 10.1 million tickets. Disney Plus will preserve the finale in a 6-part docuseries titled The End of an Era. Set to stream beginning December 12th. Her 36th birthday eve. The trailer, released November 13th, intercuts sweeping aerials of the British Columbia crowd with quiet backstage moments. Kelce on a video call joking about scheduling conflicts, Sabrina Carpenter trading friendship bracelets, Ed Sheeran strumming an impromptu duet during soundcheck. Swift's voiceover is understated. This was the most demanding thing I've ever done, and the most rewarding. The series includes the full Tortured Poets set that was added mid-tour, footage absent from the 2023 concert film, and candid reflections on the physical toll, vocal rest, ice baths, the Vienna shows canceled after a foiled terror plot. For an artist who once measured success in radio spins, the tour's legacy is measured in seismic reading sensors in Seattle and Los Angeles, registered fan energy equivalent to small earthquakes. Cities still tally the windfall. Vancouver alone reported $157 million in direct spending over the 3-night stand. Taken together, these 3 pillars, the album, the engagement, the tour's epilogue, and form a trifecta of control. Swift enters late 2025 not as a survivor of past controversies, but as their architect, having turned every public wound into leverage. The Grammy oversight stings, yet it also underscores a broader truth: awards now chase her, rather than the reverse. The ring on her finger is not an endpoint, but a bookmark, signaling that the next chapter will be written on her terms. And the docuseries is less a victory lap than a transfer of power, handing the microphone to the generation that grew up trading bracelets in her parking lots. This is peak influence, the moment when cultural, commercial, and personal forces align so completely that even silence, Grammy silence, wedding date silence, amplifies the signal. To understand how she arrived here, we have to step back to the tour that first proved one woman could move economies the way governments move markets. To grasp the full weight of Taylor Swift's 2025 pinnacle, we must first descend to the whirlwind that propelled her there, the Eras Tour. A 2-year spectacle that didn't merely entertain, but engineered a cultural and economic phenomenon unlike any before it. What unfolded from March 17, 2023 in Glendale. Arizona, a stadium once renamed Swift City for the occasion, was no ordinary comeback. It was a meticulously sequenced traversal of her 18-year catalog. A 3-hour-plus pageant where sequined bodysuits gave way to folkloric gowns, and anthems from every phase of her evolution pulsed through arenas on 5 continents. By its December 8, 2024 finale in Vancouver, the tour had amassed 149 dates, drawn 10.1 million attendees, and grossed $2.2 billion, surpassing Michael Jackson's Bad Tour as the highest-earning concert run ever. Polestar crowned it the major tour of the year for 2023 and 2024 combined. But the figures only hint at the deeper transformation. Swift didn't just sell tickets. She redefined what a single artist could summon in a fractured, post-pandemic world. The alchemy lay in the ripple effects, often dubbed the Swift Lift or Swiftonomics by economists who found themselves charting pop stardom like market trends. Question Pro's national study, surveying over 300 attendees, projected a staggering $6.5 billion in North American consumer spending. Alone up from $5 billion the prior year, with fans averaging $1,572 per show on everything from $250 tickets to custom costumes, cross-country flights, and post-concert brunches. This wasn't abstract data. It breathed life into struggling locales. Los Angeles tallied $320 million from her 6-night SoFi stand in August 2023, sparking 300 new jobs in hospitality and retail, according to the California Center for Jobs and the Economy. Denver's 2 shows in July 2023 injected $140 million, nudging the city's monthly GDP up by 0.3%. Philadelphia's May 2023 run was so transformative that the Federal Reserve's Beige Book singled it out as the strongest hotel revenue month since the pandemic's onset, with occupancy rates hitting 95%. Ride-sharing apps like Lyft reported a 65% surge in trips within 10 miles of venues, while seismic monitors in Seattle and Los Angeles registered fan-induced earthquakes equivalent to magnitude 2.3 tremors during peak sing-alongs. Globally, the tour outshone even the 2024 Paris Olympics in tourism pull. Singapore's exclusive March 2024 dates secured for $2.5 million in incentives generated $300 million, drawing 300,000 visitors and igniting regional rivalries as Thailand and the Philippines decried the pay-to-play optics. London's 5 Wembley shows in August 2024 added £300 million to the UK economy, per Barclays data, with Edinburgh's leg contributing another £77 million. Overall, the British Isles saw a £1 billion windfall. Air New Zealand dubbed the Australian leg a swift surge, adding 14 extra flights to meet demand, while Paris hotels sold out 80% capacity months in advance. These weren't isolated spikes. They represented a broader shift toward experiential spending, where fans, many middle-aged women rediscovering live music after years of isolation, prioritized joy over kitoshin. Even as inflation lingered, Nomura analysts pegged the U.S. macroeconomic lift at a modest 0.02% of GDP. But for small businesses, from Nashville bead shops crafting friendship bracelets to New Orleans eateries slinging beignet-inspired merch, the infusion was existential, a reminder that one artist's vision could heal pandemic scars. Yet beneath the glitter lurked a stark undercurrent of frustration, one that exposed the tour's fragility and Swift's unintended role as industry whistleblower. The November 2022 presale for the initial 52 North American dates devolved into digital gridlock. 14 million verified fans logged in via Ticketmaster's portal, only for servers to buckle under bot attacks and glitches, leaving virtual queues frozen for hours. Dynamic pricing algorithms inflated secondary market tickets to $29,000, while pre-sale codes meant to reward loyalty failed en masse. Swift broke her silence on Instagram, her words measured but searing. "It's devastating to see thousands of you logging on early, only to find out that the site is crashing and you missed your shot." Ticketmaster blamed unprecedented demand, canceling the public sale altogether and offering vague refunds. But the backlash was swift and bipartisan. Senator Amy Klobuchar called it a textbook success of a monopoly, while Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweeted that the Live Nation Ticketmaster merger, greenlit in 2010 with antitrust caveats, demanded breakup. Protests erupted outside Capitol Hill, with Swifties in Eras-inspired attire chanting for reform. The reckoning unfolded in layers. January 24, 2023's Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. That's the ticket promoting competition and protecting consumers in live entertainment. Grilled Live Nation President Joe Berchtold for 3 hours, with senators like Marsha Blackburn pressing on bot vulnerabilities and hidden fees that added up to 30% per ticket. Swift herself stayed silent, but her fans didn't. A class action lawsuit filed by over 300 plaintiffs sought $2,500 per violation, alleging antitrust breaches and predatory practices. The fallout accelerated scrutiny. The Department of Justice launched a formal antitrust probe in March 2023, culminating in a May 2024 lawsuit against Live Nation for monopolistic control of 70% of U.S. venues and ticketing. By December 2024, the Federal Trade Commission banned junk fees, and in October 2025, a major scalper pleaded guilty to fraud tied to Eras resales, with penalties exceeding $1 million. Even President Trump's March 2025 executive order curbing ticket gouging traced its lineage to that 2022 meltdown. Swift never positioned herself as the crusader, amplifying fan voices through subtle nods in tour speeches. But her restraint amplified the irony. The artist who built an empire on accessibility had unwittingly catalyzed its democratization. If the tour's chaos tested her, the February 4, 2024 Grammys offered poetic vindication. Midnights, the 2022 album anchoring the tour's synth-pop core, claimed Album of the Year. Her fourth, eclipsing Frank Sinatra, Stevie Wonder, and Paul Simon to claim sole possession of the record. Presented by a surprise Celine Dion, the win edged out nominees like SZA's SOS, Olivia Rodrigo's Guts, and Boy Genius's The Record, with Swift sharing the stage with producer Jack Antonoff and collaborator Lana Del Rey. Earlier that night, Midnights snagged Best Pop Vocal Album, her 13th Grammy overall. Fittingly, her lucky number. In her acceptance, she spoke not of triumph but continuity. "All I want is to keep making things I love, to see the fans sing them back." It was a quiet capstone to an era that had exposed monopolies, minted her a billionaire, and bent economies to her rhythm, proving that Swift's true power lay not in flawless execution, but in harnessing the fallout. This ascent, however, was forged in fiercer fires. A 2019 betrayal that stripped her of her own voice, only for her to seize it back with unyielding precision. The ascent to Taylor Swift's 2025 dominion wasn't forged in unbroken triumphs. It was tempered in the crucible of 2019, a year when the music industry's opaque power structures collided with one artist's unyielding claim to her own legacy. On June 3rd, Scooter Braun's Ithaca Holdings finalized a $330 million acquisition of Big Machine Label Group. the independent imprint that had launched Swift's career at age 15. Tucked into that deal were the master recordings, the original studio versions of her first 6 albums, from the self-titled debut through Reputation. These weren't mere files, they were the sonic blueprints of her evolution. Tracks that had sold over 100 million copies worldwide and generated billions in revenue. Swift, now 29 and at the height of her commercial independence under Republic Records, learned of the sale not through negotiation but through a press release. In a raw Tumblr post that evening, she described the moment as her worst-case scenario, accusing Braun and Big Machine founder Scott Borchetta of incessant manipulative bullying for years, including blocking her from performing her own hits at the 2019 American Music Awards. The post, read by millions overnight, didn't just vent frustration. It peeled back the curtain on a systemic inequity. Why should a teenager's sweat equity penned in bedrooms and barns fuel a stranger's fortune indefinitely, without a whisper of consent or compensation? Braun, the high-profile manager behind Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande, responded cautiously at first, citing a very strict NDA that bound the deal's details. In later interviews, like a 2025 appearance on The Diary of a CEO podcast, he framed the purchase as standard business, insisting he'd offered Swift a buyback opportunity during negotiations, as claims she countered by revealing that any such talks hinged on her signing an ironclad NDA, prohibiting criticism of him. Borchetta echoed this, releasing scanned proposals showing offers to transfer assets upon a new Republic deal, but Swift's team dismissed them as after-the-fact maneuvers. The exchange escalated into a proxy war Braun's allies, including Justin Bieber posting a mocking video of Swift crying, drew swift backlash from fans who flooded social media with "Scooter Braun Eyes Over Party." What began as personal grievance ballooned into a referendum on artist exploitation, amplified by Swift's platform. Women in music, from Sheryl Crow to Halsey, shared similar tales of label overreach, while outlets like The New York Times dissected the gendered undertones male executives hoarding female creators' catalogs as tradable assets. Braun's public image cratered. By 2024, he stepped back from management, citing the toll on his family. Yet he maintains to this day that everyone in the end won, pointing to how Swift's re-recordings inadvertently boosted the original's value through prolonged streaming decay. The debate lingers: was this ruthless capitalism, or the invisible hand of an industry built on imbalance? Swift's counterstrike was as audacious as it was methodical. A re-recording project dubbed Taylor's Version that weaponized her publishing rights, the compositional backbone she had always retained. Legally, labels own masters for promotional muscle, but artists control the underlying songs. After a waiting period, Swift could recreate them anew. She teased the plan in a 2019 CBS Sunday Morning interview, vowing to own my own music. The rollout began April 9, 2021, with Fearless Taylor's Version. Her platinum sophomore breakthrough now refreshed with crystalline production and 6 vault tracks, unreleased gems like Mr. Perfectly Fine, a cheeky post-breakup jab that quickly outstreamed its 2008 counterparts. The album debuted at number 1 with 352,000 units, surpassing the original's launch by 20%, and fans, mobilized via Swift's calls to reclaim my work, pivoted playlists en masse. iHeartRadio pledged exclusives to the new versions, slashing royalties to the old ones and eroding Braun's leverage. The momentum built like a gathering storm. November 12, 2021 brought Red Taylor's Version, a raw dissection of her early 20s that unearthed the 10-minute opus, All Too Well, a gut-wrenching short film directed by Swift herself, starring Sadie Sink and Dylan O'Brien, which shattered YouTube records with 100 million views in its first week. It debuted at #1 globally, moving 605,000 units and topping the Hot 100 for a week, while the full album's 1.25 million first-week sales marked her biggest since Reputation. By 2023, Speak Now Taylor's version arrived July 7th with 717,000 units and vault cuts like Castles Crumbling, featuring Hayley Williams, and 1989 Taylor's version. October 27th claimed 1.65 million, reasserting her pop throne with Is It Over Now?, a vault track that hit #1 and broke records for the longest-running #1 by a female artist in the streaming era. These weren't nostalgic cash grabs, they were precision strikes, each release devaluing the originals by 30 to 50% in licensing value, per industry estimates. When Braun flipped the catalog to Shamrock Holdings for $300 million in November 2020, the buyer's enthusiasm waned as Swift's versions dominated airplay and sync deals. Her strategy, dissected in the 2024 Warner Bros. Docuseries, Taylor Swift vs. Scooter Braun Bad Blood, became a Harvard Business School case study on intellectual property warfare, inspiring Offset to dub himself Rap's Taylor Swift amid his quality control disputes, and Five Finger Death Punch to re-record their early catalog in 2025 after a surprise sale. Labels scrambled Universal extended non-compete clauses to 20 years, a direct riposte to her blueprint. The Inferno's embers didn't extinguish, they illuminated a creative renaissance. Amid the fray and the 2020 lockdowns, Swift retreated into woodland reverie. Birthing folklore. On July 24th, a surprise drop of indie folk introspection co-produced with Aaron Dessner of The National, conceived in isolation. Its whispery narratives of fictional betrayals and quiet longings debuted at #1 with 846,000 units, her biggest opening since Reputation, and held the top spot for 8 weeks. Critics crowned it a pandemic salve. Rolling Stone called it the quarantine album we didn't know we needed, its cottagecore aesthetic spawning TikTok trends and a vinyl surge that revived the format industry-wide. The Acclaim nominated for 6 Grammys, winning Album of the Year in 2021, spurred its sibling, Evermore. Surprise released December 11th. Deeper in melancholy, with tracks like Willow, weaving spells of regret, and Marjorie, honoring her late grandmother. It debuted at #1 with 402,000 units, though some reviewers, like the Atlantic Chispan Tijdson or Bekolkor Menskernhaber, noted its imprecise metaphors and less immediate melodies. It was hailed as a bolder experiment. The New York Times, praising its richer, more spellbinding world-building. Together, the sister albums shifted Swift from pop provocateur to literary fabulist, grossing over 1 billion streams in their first month and influencing a wave of introspective releases from Phoebe Bridgers to Noah Kahan. By October 21, 2022, Swift circled back to the spotlight with Midnights, a nocturnal confessional laced with retro synths and Jack Antonoff's polished edges, dropped with zero preamble. It shattered records 1.578 million first-week units, the biggest by a woman in the modern era, and Anti-Hero, claiming the largest Spotify 24-hour debut ever. Its themes, regrets, midnight hauntings. Fame's underbelly earned 4 Grammys, including her historic 4th album of the year, but divided fans craving folklore's hush. Some called it a hot mess of fragmented vibes. others a masterful mosaic blending eras. This rebirth wasn't defiance alone, it was distillation. Scandals honing her into a sharper blade victim no more, but vanguard. From these ashes rose the genre-defying leaps that would cement her as pop's unassailable architect. The battles of 2019 through 2022 sharpened Taylor Swift into a strategist, but the blueprint for her pop supremacy was drafted earlier, in a 4-year stretch that saw her shed Nashville's rhinestones for Manhattan's skyline and turn public scrutiny into sonic armor. By 2014, at 24, Swift had already sold over 26 million albums worldwide on the strength of Country Confessions. Yet she sensed the genre's ceiling pressing down. The pivot began. Quietly, she relocated to New York City, chopped her hair into a sleek bob, and assembled a production dream team led by Swedish hitmaker Max Martin and Shellback. On October 27, 1989, arrived named for her birth year and billed as her first documented official pop album, a synth-soaked manifesto that traded fiddles for pulsating bass lines and heartbreak for high-gloss irony. It exploded with 1.287 million copies in its debut week, the largest for any album since 2002 and the biggest ever for a woman in the SoundScan era. Lead single, Shake It Off, released August 18th, bounded to number 1 on the Hot 100. Its cheerleader choreography, a defiant shrug to critics who dismissed her as a serial dater chasing tabloid ink. Blank Space followed, debuting at the summit in November, a satirical takedown of her media caricature as a man-eater, complete with a video that racked up 1 billion YouTube views and earned MTV's Video of the Year. The album's run was relentless 5 top 10 singles, including Style and Bad Blood, the latter remixed with Kendrick Lamar to settle a perceived feud and dominate summer radio. The 2016 Grammys crowned the gamble. 1989. Took Album of the Year, Swift second in that category, making her the first woman to win it twice. In her speech, she addressed young women directly. There are going to be people along the way who will try to undercut your success or take credit for your accomplishments. Focus on the work. It was a subtle nod to the gathering storm, but the era's gloss masked mounting pressures. Tabloids fixated on her relationships first with DJ Calvin Harris, then a whirlwind with actor Tom Hiddleston, whose I Hearts TS tank top became meme fodder. To counter the isolation, Swift curated the squad, a rotating circle of models like Karlie Kloss and Gigi Hadid, singers like Selena Gomez and Lorde, and actresses like Hailey Steinfeld. Vogue shoots and Instagram posts portrayed an unbreakable sisterhood, but insiders later revealed the strained scheduling conflicts, perceived hierarchies, and the media's quick pivot to labeling it exclusive or mean girl. Yet the formation served a purpose, projecting unity amid fame's glare. More substantively, Swift flexed muscle against streaming giants when Apple Music announced a no-pay policy for its 3-month trial in June 2015. She penned an open letter on Tumblr, arguing it hurt emerging artists. Apple reversed course within hours, paying full royalties, a win that reshaped industry standards and foreshadowed her later master's crusade. By 2017, the crown felt heavier. The long-simmering tension with Kanye West reignited when his track, Famous, dropped in February 2016, boasting the line, "I feel like me and Taylor might still have sex. Why I made that bitch famous." Swift's team denied approving the lyric beyond a vague phone call. West claimed otherwise. The dispute lay dormant until July 2016, when Kim Kardashian released edited Snapchat clips of the conversation, framing Swift as duplicitous. Taylor Swift is Snake trended worldwide for days, with snake emojis flooding her social feeds and death threats prompting security upgrades. Public perception fractured polls showed a 20-point dip in her favorability among casual listeners, yet Swift went radio silent, deleting her Instagram and retreating from the spotlight for nearly a year, her longest absence since debut. The comeback was volcanic. On August 18, 2017, a cryptic video of a writhing snake signaled reputation. Released November 10th as a darker, trap-infused reckoning co-produced with Jack Antonoff. It debuted with 1.216 million units, her fourth straight million-plus opener, led by the venomous "Look What You Made Me Do," a #1 smash whose video, dissecting her personas in a graveyard of past selves, surpassed 1 billion views. Tracks like "Delicate" offered vulnerability amid the bravado, while "Endgame," featuring Future and Ed Sheeran, nodded to hip-hop crossovers. Critics were split. Pitchfork praised its calculated chaos, but The Guardian called it overwrought. Commercially, it thrived, certified triple platinum, though streaming lagged behind. 1989's ubiquity due to an initial Uptown Funk-style blackout on platforms, a deliberate scarcity play that built anticipation. The Reputation Stadium Tour, launching May 8, 2018 in Glendale, grossed $345.7 million across 53 dates, the highest for a woman until the Eras era, with pyrotechnics, multiple stages, and guest appearances from Camila Cabello and Charlie XCX. Swift leaned into the snake motif merch emblazoned with reptiles, stage screens flashing fangs reclaiming the slur as empowerment. Off-stage, she filed to trademark phrases like "Swiftmass" and quietly supported causes, donating to sexual assault victims and testifying in her 2017 groping trial win, where a Denver DJ owed her a symbolic $1. This period wasn't seamless reinvention, it was survival through spectacle. The squad dissolved quietly by 2018 members citing natural drift, while the Kanye saga lingered. West apologized in 2019 only for tensions to resurface. Yet Reputation laid foundational brick stadium-scale production that previewed Eris's ambition, a fan base galvanized by adversity, and Swift's evolution from reactive storyteller to proactive mythmaker. Every diss track doubled as a diamond, proving that in pop's arena, vulnerability armored with wit could conquer. The elite narratives that defined her, however, were honed in the transitional triumphs that bridged her country innocence to this bolder horizon. The pop provocateur of Reputation didn't emerge fully formed. She was sculpted in the transitional forge of 2009 to 2013, a period when Taylor Swift bridged her country roots with international ambition, turning teenage diaries into anthems that commanded arenas and reshaped youth culture. At 19, she was already a Nashville phenom, but the 2009 MTV Video Music Awards thrust her into a harsher spotlight. On September 13th, as Swift accepted Best Female Video for You Belong With Me, a bubbly ode to the girl next door crushing on the wrong guy. Kanye West bounded on stage, grabbing the mic to insist Beyoncé's Single Ladies deserved the win. The crowd erupted in boos. Swift stood frozen, her white gown, a symbol of wide-eyed innocence, shattered. Beyoncé later invited her back during her own Video of the Year speech, a gracious gesture that softened the blow, but the moment went viral, spawning memes, talk show debates, and a narrative of Swift as pop's perpetual underdog. West apologized on his blog hours later, calling it rude. Yet the incident lingered, foreshadowing years of scrutiny while humanizing her in the eyes of millions. It didn't derail her, If anything, it amplified. Fearless. Her 2008 sophomore release, which swept the 2010 Grammys with Album of the Year, making Swift, at 20, the youngest winner ever. The album had already sold 7 million copies in the U.S. alone by then, powered by Love Story, a Romeo and Juliet retelling that blended country twang with pop universality, peaking at number 4 on the Hot 100 and crossing over to adult contemporary radio. This era's core was a trilogy of albums that elevated confessional songwriting to high art, each building on the last while expanding her sonic palette. Speak Now. Released October 25, 2010, was a bold declaration of autonomy entirely self-written during her Fearless tour downtime, scribbled in notebooks between sound checks. It debuted with 1.047 million units, the biggest week for a country album since 2000, and held number 1 for 6 weeks. Tracks like Mine recaptured fairy tale romance with arena-ready choruses, while Dear John dissected a toxic older relationship widely interpreted as John Mayer with unflinching detail. Its 6-minute runtime, a masterclass in narrative buildup. Back to December offered Rare Apology, a sparse ballad apologizing to an ex-rumored Taylor Lautner that showcased vocal maturity. The album earned 2 Grammy nods, including Song of the Year for Mean, an anti-bullying anthem that resonated with teens facing schoolyard taunts. Critics lauded the intimacy Rolling Stone called it a diary set to music, but some country purists grumbled at the pop leanings, like the orchestral swells in Enchanted. Commercially, it was unstoppable. Certified quadruple platinum and fueling the Speak Now World Tour. A 111-date trek from February 2011 to March 2012 that grossed $123 million. Her first full stadium run with elaborate sets depicting enchanted forests and wedding scenes. The evolution accelerated with Red, dropped October 22, 2012, a genre-blending mosaic that signaled her impending pop exodus. Co-produced with veterans like Dan Wilson and newcomers like Max Martin, it fused country's storytelling with dubstep drops and heartland rock. Debuting at number 1 with 1.208 million units her career. A best opener, it featured We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together, a bubbly breakup blast that spent 3 weeks atop the Hot 100, her first chart topper there. The track's spoken word bridges and hand claps captured post-teen exuberance, while I Knew You Were Trouble incorporated electronic edges, drawing GOAT remixes and EDM festival plays. Ballads like the title track, a 10-minute acoustic lament for lost love, previewed her later epics, and 22 became a carefree manifesto for early 20s chaos. Its video, a Polaroid-fueled party that trended for weeks. Red divided purists. Country radio hesitated on the pop experiments, but it conquered globally, with UK number 1s and Australian diamond status. The Red Tour, from March 2013 to June 2014, spanned 86 shows and grossed $150 million, incorporating circus tents, costume changes, and guest spots from Ed Sheeran and Gary Lightbody. It was during this run that Swift began curating her image more deliberately. Red lips as signature, high-waisted shorts evoking vintage pinups, and a shift toward broader themes of self-discovery over specific exes. These years weren't without growing pains. The Kanye fallout simmered west, referenced it in interviews, and tabloids amplified every rumored romance, from Jake Gyllenhaal inspiring much of Red to Harry Styles. Swift countered with humor in speeches, but privately, the pressure mounted. She later revealed in documentaries struggling with eating disorders amid body-shaming headlines. Yet the triumphs overshadowed 3 consecutive diamond certifications in the US. Fearless. Speak Now. Red. International breakthroughs like Wembley's sold-out nights and Grammy hardware that solidified her as country's crossover queen. Anthems like You Belong With Me rallied bullied teens, providing soundtracks for prom nights and first heartbreaks. While her fan engagement secret listening sessions, handwritten notes in albums built a loyal army that would later power re-recordings. This phase transformed her from farm-fresh ingenue to arena commander, where vulnerability wasn't weakness, but a weapon, selling out stadiums and inspiring a generation to own their stories. The empire's true foundation, however, lay further back, on a Pennsylvania Christmas tree farm where a girl's first chords dreamed bigger than the horizon. The arena commander of 2013 didn't spring from stardust. Her story begins on a frost-laced Christmas tree farm in Wyomissing, Pennsylvania, where a girl named Taylor Allison Swift learned early that songs could be safer than small talk. Born December 13, 1989, in West Reading Hospital to Scott, a Merrill Lynch stockbroker, and Andrea, a former marketing executive turned homemaker. Swift grew up amid 11 acres of evergreens the family cultivated as a side business. The farm wasn't glamorous. Winters meant pruning in sub-zero wind, summers hauling wreaths to local markets, but it offered solitude. Classmates recall a quiet kid who preferred Leanne Rimes cassettes to playground games, scribbling rhymes in spiral notebooks during lunch. By 11, she had won a national poetry contest with "Monster in My Closet," a whimsical verse about childhood fears that caught her mother's ear. Andrea, sensing something deeper, drove her to Philadelphia open mics, where Taylor belted Shania Twain covers to half-empty bars. The rejection came. Swift talent scouts praised the voice but dismissed the age. "Come back when you're older," they said. She was 12. Summers shifted the tide. At the Jersey Shore, where the family vacationed in Stone Harbor, Swift waitressed at a coffee shop, charming tourists with acoustic sets between latte orders. Tips funded her first professional demo, a 3-song CD recorded in a local studio. Back home, isolation fueled the fire. Bullied for her height and weird interests, she channeled loneliness into lyrics. A pivotal moment arrived at 13, a family trip to Nashville's Music Row, where neon signs and honky-tonk echoes felt like home. Andrea cold-called managers. Most doors slammed. But computer repairman Dan Dimtrow spotted potential, signing her to a management deal and pitching her as country's next prodigy. The gamble escalated in 2003. Scott transferred offices to Merrill's Nashville branch. The family sold the farm for a suburban Hendersonville rental, and 14-year-old Taylor enrolled in Hendersonville High while hustling demos daily. The move wasn't seamless. Swift later described culture shock, trading Pennsylvania snow for Tennessee humidity, cheerleading tryouts for songwriting sessions, but it positioned her at the industry's epicenter. Hustle met opportunity in 2004. An RCA Records development deal promised grooming, but included a "shelve until 18" clause, stalling momentum. Frustrated, Swift and her team pivoted to publishing. At 14, she inked with Sony Gaz ATV, the youngest songwriter ever signed, pairing Tuesdays with veteran Liz Rose at the publisher's quaint cabin studio. Their ritual. Swift arrived with voice memos of half-formed ideas. Rose helped sculpt them into hooks. Tim McGraw, penned in math class about a high school sweetheart and summer nights, emerged first, a nostalgic gem blending specific memories, picnics, Chevy trucks with universal ache, Rose recalled Swift's precision. She knew every word's weight. Meanwhile, open mic nights at the Bluebird Cafe honed her stagecraft. Industry vets like Brett James caught sets, whispering her name in boardrooms. The breakthrough crystallized in 2005. Scott Borchetta, fresh from launching Big Machine Records, saw her Bluebird performance and offered a deal on the spot artist development with full creative reins, no co-writers mandated. At 15, Swift became the label's flagship act, recording in after-school bursts. Her self-titled debut dropped October 24, 2006, a sun-kissed blend of diary entries and radio-ready choruses. Lead single, Tim McGraw, climbed to number 6 on Billboard's Hot Country Songs, its video evoking small-town innocence. Follow-up. Teardrops on My Guitar cracked the top 15, a raw plea inspired by an unrequited crush on classmate Drew Hardwick. The album debuted at number 5 on the Billboard 200, selling 39,000. First week modest by pop standards but seismic for country. Our Song, a bouncy ode to teenage make-believe romance, hit number 1 on country radio for 6 weeks, making 16-year-old Swift the youngest soul writer to top that chart. Critics noted the authenticity. The New York Times praised her uncanny knack for turning diary scribbles into anthems, while Country Weekly hailed a fresh voice amid bro country's rise. Accolades followed fast. At the 2007 Country Music Association Awards, Swift earned the Horizon Award for Best New Artist. By 2008, she was nominated for Entertainer of the Year at the CCMAs, the youngest ever. The album went diamond 10 million units equivalent, fueled by relentless touring opening for Rascal Flatts, then headlining fairs and theaters. Merch tables sold scribbled lyric sheets. Fan mail poured in from girls who saw their crushes in Picture to Burn. This scrappy ethos, no ghostwriters, just a teen decoding first kisses and parental curfews defined her. Big Machine's lean operation meant Swift co-designed album art, picked singles, and engaged fans via MySpace comments, building a grassroots army long before algorithms. The Roots weren't without thorns. Homeschooling accommodated the schedule. But Swift missed proms and sleepovers. Early interviews reveal a polite deflection of normal teen questions. Label pressures loomed. Borchetta pushed for radio hits, occasionally clashing with her instincts, but the partnership thrived on mutual respect. From those barn-raised demos to diamond debut. Pennsylvania's quiet fields instilled a work ethic that would weather VMA's storms and Masters wars. Legends aren't born under spotlights. They're barn-raised on belief, one chord at a time. And as we circle back to 2025's reclaimed throne, one truth endures: every empire begins with a girl and her guitar, daring the world to listen. From the frost-kissed Christmas tree farm where a 12-year-old first traded silence for chords, to the Vancouver stage where 10 million voices sang her life back to her in December 2024, Taylor Swift has written a story that belongs as much to her audience as to herself. Every chapter, the mic snatched at the 2009 VMAs. The Masters reclaimed in 2025, the stadiums that registered on seismographs serves the same quiet truth. Reinvention is not a reaction to crisis. It is the deliberate act of choosing which parts of the past to carry forward and which to leave behind. What lingers is not the volume of records sold or the billions banked, but the way she has turned private ache into public permission. A generation learned to name its heartbreaks because she named hers first. Another learned to demand ownership of its work because she fought for hers in courtrooms and recording booths. The snake emoji that once stung became a badge. the 10-minute voicemail that once haunted became a #1 single. At 35, with a ring on her finger and a catalog fully hers, Swift stands less as a pop star than as a living archive of resilience. An artist who reminds us that the most powerful legacy is the one you keep revising until it fits the life you actually want. So here's the question to carry with you. Which moment in this long arc feels most like your own turning point, the interruption that forced a rewrite, or the quiet decision to start the next verse on your terms? Share it below. The conversation is part of the story. If tonight's journey moved you, subscribe and tap the bell. We'll be here when the next chapter drops. Thank you for spending this time with us at Starlight Remains. Keep writing your eras.